My name is Steve Grove. I'm the head of news and politics at YouTube, and it's my pleasure to welcome today Anderson Cooper. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us.
I love that you had to tell people to like put away their laptops.
That's a very Google thing.
It's a very Google. Don't you all have work to do? What the hell are you all doing here?
You've actually torn people away, but not really.
I appreciate it,
but
yeah. Well, I hope it's. I hope the whole company hasn't come to a halt. I feel like.
Well, we'll see. Productivity is definitely going down right now.
That's right. Okay.
Well,
Sergey Brin is screaming. Thanks. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Have you been here before?
I have not. No. I mean, I've gone to Chelsea markets, but so I've been
not
near
the
here.
office.
No, not the office itself.
But you've been a friend of YouTube.
You're also like young. I work in news where everybody's like grizzled and unhealthy, and you all look like young and fresh and happy, which is very odd. Working in cable news, it's odd to see that.
I'm guessing the mean age here is lower than over at
I think so, yeah. And on my daytime show, you're about the mean age, but in news, yeah, we have a lot more grizzled vets.
Well, tell us about that. So you're starting a talk show on television.
I am, yeah. I'm starting a daytime talk show. So yeah, I mean, I'm staying at CNN. And I'll continue to do that at night. But I'm starting a talk show that goes on the air September 12th.
And what's it about? What's your focus?
Well, it's a daytime talk show, so it's really a variety of things. It's a show which one day we'll have a big celebrity interview, the next day we'll have a provocative social issue, the next day will be some pop culture stuff, which I'm kind of addicted to pop culture in addition.
Really?
To yeah.
You're addicted to pop culture?
I am. Yeah. I
thought you were a news guy.
I am a news guy, but I watch nonstop television and have since I literally recently found my TV viewing schedule that I made for myself when I was in 4th grade. And I mean, from the moment I got home at 3:30 or whatever it was, I had blocked out in 30-minute increments, and I allowed for like 15 minutes for dinner with my family, and which tells you a little bit something about my home life. And I allowed 15 minutes for homework, which in 4th grade was acceptable. But yeah,
TV schedule.
TV schedule, yeah.
It was pop culture stuff.
McGilla Gorilla starting at 3:30, and then it went the Andy Griffith Show, all sorts of things. Yeah.
Wow. So this isn't uncharted territory.
Yeah, I mean, I literally watch. I watch tons of just cheesy reality TV shows. I watch The Soup to catch the shows that I've missed, and I watch Tosh.0 to catch up on the web stuff that I'm missing. So I feel like I have all my bases covered.
What's your favorite pop culture show on TV?
Oh man, I go through phases. I was an early admirer of the Atlanta Housewives. Perhaps you've seen their work.
Oh, I missed that one.
Really?
Yeah, I'm ashamed to say.
Anyone here see that? Yeah. All right. Good. Sure. All right. Yeah. Say it proudly. Don't be afraid. But I've moved on to now the Beverly Hills ladies. They got me. So yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me. Yeah. So I watched the Beverly Hills Housewives. I feel like Bravo schedules the Housewives back to back so much that emotionally I need a little bit of a break. So I actually have DVR'd the New Jersey Housewives because I feel like I'm not really ready for them yet. But
I see.
But I'm saving up for a rainy day.
Well, maybe you can watch some of the clips on YouTube if you miss them during the day.
That's probably true. I also watch like drama. I mean, I'm a big addict to Breaking Bad and The Killing, and although the last episode I was very angry about. But so yeah, I watch a lot of stuff.
You're no stranger to YouTube. You and I met back in 2007. We did the CNN YouTube debates,
That's right.
Where you moderated a couple debates with the citizen questions from YouTube.
Yeah, which was cool.
And
I'm
last
not sure
week,
the Republican candidates liked it as much as the Democratic candidates.
No,
Yeah.
they weren't as happy about the snowman-like
They didn't
questions.
like the snow. Yes, right.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. But it was pivotal. There were definitely moments. Back then, it was, of course, oh my God, social media in a debate.
Right.
Now it's like every debate has these sorts of aspects to it.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, it's obviously it's been a sea change.
Last week, you had probably your biggest YouTube moment ever.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I do not know.
I hate to do this to you, Anderson, but
That's right.
we have to just remind our viewing audience here.
Now, all I can say is they should thank their lucky stars it wasn't Part 2. Sorry. That made me giggle every time I read it. He hasn't commented on this incident. Part 2. I know you got it, but this is the worst part coming out. Kills me. It's so bad.
This is live on the air.
Yeah.
All right, we'll spare you.
Actually, it never happened to me. I always see this thing on YouTube.
So what happened?
You know, every time I read it, like, you know, I was reading it and stuff, and I'd you know, been tweaking the writing and stuff, and then, I don't know, it just made me giggle every time. And you know, I have always giggled like a 13-year-old girl meeting Justin Bieber at a meet and greet. But I've usually been able to like control it or stop it. I've never been in a situation, you know, you see these people on YouTube or elsewhere doing this, and you think, I'd be able to do something about it. I could not do anything about it. It's really true.
Your show's tape delayed on the West Coast, and you're on a second hour later. Were you tempted to cut that out?
Well, it's funny. As soon as this happened, and then we're off the air, I said to my producer, because I was that was at 8 o'clock, and then my show was going to be repeated at 10, and I said we can just pull that up for the 10 o'clock, and there was like silence. I said that out there, you know, and there was silence in my ear on the IFB, and they were like, "Oh no, 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 no."
That's staying
We
on.
are not pulling that up at all. So, yeah. So it was
you were a
fine
good
by
sport
me.
about
Yeah,
it.
no,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, it's you know, I make fun of myself more than anything else.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you've launched a YouTube channel. I just pulled it up here for the talk show.
Mm-hmm.
You've been posting
Right.
videos and taking questions. Some of those we'll get to in a moment. I wanted to just play sort of an example of a way that you've been using YouTube to kind of get audiences
Right.
excited about the show.
At Right On Time 123. How do people come up with these names? Okay, at Right On Time 123. Hey, I can't wait for the new show. Thank you. My question is this: what was the last song that got stuck in your head? It's really this is embarrassing. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Rebecca Black. It's terrible. It's really bad. But that stupid song, it got stuck in my head. Like, I was kind of late to the whole Rebecca Black thing, and once I saw it, it's just mind-bogglingly bad, but I find myself being like, I don't even know the words. I just keep saying that stupid thing in my head. And then I heard I was listening to BBC Radio over the weekend, and there was some Katy Perry song, and I think they said that Rebecca Black is in the video.
So you've been using the web to get your show promoted. How's that been?
It's I think been really successful. It's you know, using Twitter, using all sorts of stuff. But you know, I've got a great couple of people who are much smarter than I online, and you know, really think about this a lot more than I have in the past. And I was sort of reluctant to. I feel like I work enough as it is. I was sort of resented the idea that I had to do this extra thing online. But I've sort of gotten over that, and now it's become incorporated in my daily routine, and I actually like it. I like the intimacy of these kind of videos. I like that it's just me and my laptop, and you know, my assistant showed me how to save the things because I screwed up the first couple ones. But I like having that communication with viewers, and I think viewers like it as well. And it you know, in a time when we're not yet on the air, we go on the air September 12th, and we just started taping some shows. It's a way to start communicating with viewers, and especially in daytime TV. I mean, for those of you who've watched Oprah or one of these daytime TV shows, you know, it's about building a sense of community and building connection with viewers and building. It's not just a program that is on the air 1 hour a day. You want it to be, if it's successful, and the shows that have been the most successful and the shows that I as a viewer feel the most connected to, and that's what you want. You want people to feel connected to it. It's not just connected to that 1 hour that you're on the day on the air. It's connected to it in a real time, 24-hour way. Online, there's community of people you talk to.
You get feedback.
Yeah, you get feedback,
Yeah.
and the show and the website and the YouTube channel. It's all a place where you feel you belong and you want to check in with.
What is the purpose of a daytime talk show? I mean, it's more of a conversation versus
if
a news
in the
show.
TV business we start asking ourselves that, none of us will
In
do
your
anything.
mind, what is the purpose of your show? In your mind,
There's two purposes. I'll say there's personal, and then there's for other people. For me personally, I've been reporting for 20 years, and have from I'm very passionate about news and about what I do, and I love to travel and go to the front lines of stories, and I want to continue doing that. But I also, at the age of 44, want to do something which does allow for more human connection with other people, and which allows me to kind of show more of my personality. And the news, there is a certain formality to it, and a certain one or two-dimensional nature of it. And it's nice to do something which is more three-dimensional, in which you show that if you have a dry sense of humor or whatever it is, to be able to show that, and at other times than when you're giggling like a 13-year-old girl. So, in a daytime format, you really can. I have an audience of 300 people up at the Time Warner Center, the Jazz at Lincoln Center room. It's the Allen room. It's this incredible room, and it's great to have that interaction with the audience. And I really like it in real time. And you can poke fun with, have fun with people, and it can be serious. There's a great variety of things you can do in daytime. And for viewers, I really do want. I think there's a lot of people who feel very disconnected, and most viewers of daytime shows are women. I think there's a lot of women out there, particularly throughout the country, who have faced huge challenges in their lives and huge difficulties, and trying to support their families and also work and feel satisfied in their lives and feel connected to their communities and their families. And I think you can really talk about real things and things which really do resonate with people's lives.
Well, a lot of those fans and viewers submitted questions on your YouTube channel. We'll play a few of them now, and then we'll take some questions from the folks here as well in a bit.
Sounds good.
So the top voted video question came from this UNC student.
Hey Anderson, I'm Leslie and I go to the University of North Carolina. I was wondering what your favorite class in college was, or if there was a class that you took you found most useful in life in general. Thanks.
God, I remember those bunk beds. Jesus. Do you remember those? Oy. Yeah. Was there a class in college that I found useful in life? No, actually. Did anybody find
Ringing
a class?
endorsement of,
right.
of going to college.
Yes, I don't want to badmouth Yale, but no, there was nothing.
You heard it here.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Don't go to Yale.
That's what I spent the money on. I majored in political science, which at the time to me was like majoring in reading the newspaper every day. And I don't quite understand what political science enables me to do or entitles me to do. I mean, I was a liberal arts major, which means that I had no actual skill, and I work in TV because I have no actual skill. But I really don't. I don't know. I wasn't one of those students in college who felt I didn't love the college experience. People would say, adults would say like, college was the best 4 years of my life, and I think, God, if that was the best 4 years of my life, just shoot me in the head, because, it was fine, it was great, I guess, but the best I feel like the best is yet to come, and each year it keeps getting better and better and better, and at 44, I feel so much happier and more confident and all that stuff than I did back then, and,
And right after college, didn't you essentially just start reporting from war zones?
I took my brother had committed suicide right before my senior year of college, and so my senior year was sort of a blur to me. And when I graduated, I had not done any job interviews. I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I was really still trying to adjust to the reality of the situation. And so I took a year off, and I lived down Long Island for a while. I did carpentry work, and then I traveled around in Southeast Asia on my own. But after that, I decided. I made a list of all the things I wanted in my life, like things that I wanted to look back on, and not sort of achievement things, but just I wanted to feel fulfilled, and I wanted to see the world, and I didn't want to be in a gray office, in a gray cubicle, in a gray suit. So I kind of all the things, and I'd watched a lot of TV growing up, as I said, and I'd watched a lot of news. I was a little kid I was probably the only 8-year-old who was really into Eric Sevareid, who no one in this room even knows who Eric Sevareid is. But had I said that at CNN, everyone would be like, yes.
Was he a producer at CBS?
No, he was a famous on-air person at CBS News. He was legendary. Anyway, you kids today, you don't know. You don't know what it was like in the 1990s.
80s.
So, I kind of thought, well, wow, being a news reporter would be interesting, and I like TV, and being able to see history as it's happening would be really cool. So I tried to get an entry-level job in TV. I tried to get an entry-level job at ABC News, and I could not get hired at ABC News, and there was a recession on the time. It was like 91, 92. So I came up with this scheme, which was I'm going to have a friend make a press pass for me on a Macintosh computer. And I did that, and I borrowed a home video camera, and I decided I'm going to go to wars because I won't have much competition because most people are too scared to go, and it'll be it'll be an interesting life experience, and also the wars seem dramatic and seem interesting in terms of things I can take pictures of. So that's what I did. I snuck into Burma, and I hooked up with some students fighting the Burmese government, which is a struggle, which is still going on today, obviously. And I shot a story about them. And no one ever checked my fake press pass. And then I sold that story, I put it together, and I sold it to this thing called Channel 1, which was a show seen in high schools and middle schools throughout the United States. Was anyone here have Channel 1 in there?
Yeah,
one or two.
yeah.
It was big in the Midwest and the South. And then they still didn't hire me full time, so then I said, okay, I'm gonna go to Africa. I'm gonna go to 10 different countries. I guarantee you 10 stories. It's going to cost you $2,000 a story, and here are the 10 stories. And I made up 10 stories. I had left high school a semester early and driven in a truck across sub-Saharan Africa, so I was sort of familiar with Africa, or sub-Saharan Africa. And the first story I did was I went into Somalia in the early days of the famine there, there was a famine back in '92, and there's a famine now, but there was a famine back in '92. I went there, and that was really the first real major breaking story that I shot stories about, and it had a big impact on the Channel 1 audience. I got hired, and that's how I became a reporter.
So Channel 1 was your start?
Yeah, it was absolutely my start, and I mean, for the next 2 years, they made me I was their only sort of traveling foreign correspondent, war correspondent, and I just went from one war to another. I was in Bosnia during the war there. I was in Rwanda during the genocide with the RPF who were fighting to stop the genocide. So yeah.
Well, the news stories today are obviously different than back then, although certainly there are similarities. One of our other top voted questions, as I recall, let me see if I can dial it up. Yeah, is about today's news.
Hi, Anderson. I just read Jared Diamond's book Collapse, which is about the rise and fall of civilizations over time. And as a reporter, my question to you is, what factors have you seen that's contributed to the decline or even fall of modern day nations, which is, I think, more relevant than ever with all the unrest going on in Africa and the Middle East. By the way, I really love your shows. I went to last week's taping of Anderson, and it was really great. Keep up the good work.
All right, cool. That's nice. Wow, what factors have contributed to the decline of civilizations? Sure.
A question I'm sure you'll be asking on your talk show every day.
Yes, exactly. Right, exactly. I have the Beverly Hills Housewives on to talk about that very subject, as a matter of fact.
We'll all tune in for that one.
Yes. Right. Camille Grammer has some fascinating ideas on this subject. And I love Camille Grammer because she speaks with her shoulders. I don't know if you noticed this. She says these things like, they're just jealous. I love it. Love her.
Why don't you answer this question using that style?
Right, exactly. Right.
The Middle East is the hot spot right now. You've been covering this every day, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you have these entrenched rulers in the Middle East who have destroyed their countries. I mean, you look at Libya right now. There's only 6 million people in Libya. Their school system is a nightmare. Their hospital system, their healthcare system is pathetic. The amount of money that Muammar Gaddafi has made from oil in the 42 years of his reign is extraordinary, and the fact that he hasn't been able to adequately care for 6 million people is unbelievable to me. And I mean, it's not unbelievable because he's a complete thug, and the people around him are thugs and liars and crooks, as are most of these regimes. I mean, you look at the people around Hosni Mubarak, and up until the very end, they were lying. They were just telling lies. And I think it's extraordinary what we're witnessing. I mean, every night now, pretty much every night, I focus on what's happening in Syria, and it's YouTube, and it's people who are risking their lives to upload videos. That is the reason I'm able to continue to do this story every night, because without those pictures, without those images, we wouldn't be able to tell the story. I mean, you can talk about the story, but it will have no reality for people unless you see those images. So, to me, we're living in this extraordinary time of change, and I mean, just what we're witnessing right now in Libya, in Syria. I mean, I never thought really that I would see this and that it would happen so quickly. But I think a lot of it has to do just with the arrogance of power. And I was just reading this wonderful book by a Polish journalist about Emperor Haile Selassie. It's called The Emperor. It's a great oral history. And just the way Haile Selassie, who ruled Ethiopia many years ago, he was able to manipulate and stay in power by playing very much like Gaddafi was able to play tribes and others against each other. So I didn't really answer a question, but I think it's too long and involved a question. But
Well, it's interesting that today's version of you in the early 90s might not necessarily have to drop into a war zone because there's footage streaming out of there and onto the web.
yeah,
all day long.
I still think it's important to be able to go to a place and see it for yourself, and because you don't know what these images really are. I mean, in many cases, we can't independently confirm what some of these images show. Are some of these people who are in plain clothes killing people?
Yeah, it's the
do we know for a
verification.
fact that
Yeah.
they are, Syrian government thugs, or are they protesters who are attacking, plainclothes Syrian
Yeah.
officers? We don't know in some cases. But so I do think it's important to go there, and it really, going to the front lines of combat and conflict, it really does make you see it. And when I graduated college, I thought, with my little political science degree, I thought I knew what was going on. I thought I had sort of firmly held opinions about the way the world worked, and I started traveling and realized, I don't know, I didn't know anything, and the more you travel, I think you realize, it's a cliche, but the more you realize, the less you know.
Right. The number one voted question, and there was actually a lot of questions of this flavor, was, with all the devastation in the world and all the stories that you've covered, which one has been the most difficult to cover and most difficult to get out of your head? This question actually came from Germany.
The most difficult to get out of my head. I don't believe in getting these stories out of my head. I don't believe in coming back and trying to be able to sleep well at night. I honestly think you should carry these. To me, they're not stories. I mean, these are. I'm interacting with people who often end up dead or whose lives have been, unbelievably tormented. And so for me, it's a huge privilege to be invited into their home or into their hut or into their lives and to tell their story. So,
is there one story in particular that sticks out, or?
I was in Congo. I spent a lot of time in Congo, in eastern Congo. There's a horrific war. It's actually it's the deadliest conflict since World War II.
Yep.
Millions of people have been killed over the last 10 years from dying directly from combat, but also from the after effects of it, malnutrition and hunger. And it's really a war against women. Tens of thousands of women have been raped, and the majority of them have been brutally gang raped. And you meet women in hospitals who, after being gang raped by 6 soldiers, have had AK-47s inserted inside them. The guys pull the trigger, and they're alive, but their bodies are destroyed, obviously. I met a woman named Angela who, she had been gang raped by 6 soldiers, forcibly raped in front of her family, in front of her village, and they do this on purpose to destroy the entire community by destroying the community's women. And they tried to force her brother to rape her, and he refused, and so they slit his throat in front of her. She had 3 children. They burned one of the children in front of her while they were raping her. After they left, her husband then kicked her out of the village because he was afraid she was HIV positive and he was ashamed of her.
Oh, geez.
So, and yet this was a woman who every day was still able to wake up and hold her head high and try to find a job and try to feed her kids. And to me, she is.
It's courage.
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond courage. It's hard to even fathom being able to do all that. So that's somebody who stays with me when I close my eyes at night. And I don't think I should get her out of my head. I think those are people who should stay with you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but in terms of hardest, I mean, there's things that are hard logistically, like Egypt during the fall of Mubarak, where
Right.
we're getting attacked, reporters getting
You
attacked.
got punched in the streets of Tahrir Square, is that right?
Yeah. Which I'd never been punched in the head before, and I was always like, I wonder what it'd be like to be punched in the head, and now I know.
Life experience.
That's right. But I was very lucky. There was,
Yeah.
my person behind me shortly after was stabbed in the back with a screwdriver. Lara Logan was obviously attacked. The Fox News crew was brutally beaten. But there are things which make it logistically very difficult to tell the story when you're on the run, you're hiding in hotel rooms or apartments and trying to broadcast. And then there are things which just emotionally are very difficult. And Haiti after the earthquake was probably, and Hurricane Katrina, those were certainly 2 situations that I'll never forget.
Yeah. Well, one of the other top voted questions had to do with, let me see if I can find it here. You meet a lot of interesting people, many of them in the places you just talked about. This woman wants to know about who you'd most like to meet with.
Hey Anderson, my question for you is, if you could have 5 people to dinner with you, living, deceased, or fictional, who would they be and why? Can't wait for the new show. Love AC360. Thanks so much.
Got a lot of fans out there.
Wow. Okay.
Hey,
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
she's yeah. Even better
heard
the
it.
second time. If I had a dinner party with 5, first of all, I would never have a dinner party because I'm a social recluse, and the idea of having a dinner party
Really?
is painful to me. Yes.
TV guy is actually a social recluse?
Yeah, I think it's because I'm around people all day when I work and stuff, and
Yeah,
I'm really
yeah.
engaged with people, and I really like talking to people and stuff. But naturally, I tend to, like, at the party, I'm not that I would be at a party, but if I was at a party, theoretically, I would be the guy in the kitchen, like, pretending I was looking for ice, you know?
You sound like a lot of Googlers, actually.
Yes. That's why I feel so comfortable here. Yeah, that's funny. But literally, I can look for ice for a good half hour.
Without finding it.
Without finding it, yeah. That's why Blackberries and are so great, because you're like, oh, look, there's something very important I'm doing. But I guess, I don't really know how to answer this question. I mean, honestly, if I'm answering it honestly, I would, my dad died when I was 10, and I never knew any of my grandparents. So if I had to have 5 people over, I would like to have my dad and, the sets of grandparents to just kind of see what they were like. And, I think anyone who loses a parent at an early age, it leaves a mark and it really changes who you are. And I sort of think like I was a much more interesting person before I was 10. So I think I became much more serious and much more, independent and focused on work and getting things done after my dad passed away. So it'd be interesting to kind of see what he was like as an adult.
The third voted text question we got online.
I know I'm probably supposed to answer like the Pope or something for those questions. When
Where's
people,
the honorable answer?
When people, I don't know if you ever noticed when reporters get asked like, who would you like to interview? People always like the Pope or
Jesus Christ.
Right,
or,
just right. Yeah. So I guess
Good
my
answer as well, but, yeah.
All right.
Uh,
I'll work on my answer.
that was a good answer. That's a great
All right.
answer. You're usually the one asking the questions, actually.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I also, I grew up in a really interesting family, and so we had a lot of sort of well-known people over to my house at dinner as a kid. So I sort of feel like I've been to dinner parties with interesting people, and they're never as interesting as you think they're going to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's always somewhat disappointing. So.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it's good to know. Yeah.
We'll make sure this woman in, I think it was Tennessee.
Right.
Gets
Don't dream about meeting famous people. They're very boring.
It's not all it's cracked up to be.
Exactly.
You mentioned that you're not super social. One of the third eyes questions sort of asked, what do you do when you're not on air? So what do you do for fun?
Right.
And I think the way they phrase it is, what gives you that moment? Like,
Wow.
I'm relaxed.
You
or
committed
something.
to that. I like that. Yeah.
I'm half committed.
Yeah, you half
I'm
committed, but you can work on it. What do I do? So I work now. I basically do these 2 different jobs, and I also work for 60 Minutes on the side. Most of my 60 Minutes work I can only do on weekends or on holidays when I take vacation from my other jobs, because I can't have my 60 Minutes work interfere with the other jobs. So I don't have a lot of free time, because honestly, I really like what I do, and I would much rather go someplace to do a story or to meet some people than I would to go to a place and sit on a beach or just take a vacation. To me,
So work is play in some ways for you.
in some ways, yeah. I mean, for instance, I just went down to Cuba for 60 Minutes for a story that involved a lot of diving, and it was, I would much rather I took a week of vacation from CNN in order to do it. And previously, I had taken a week of vacation from CNN to go to South Africa with 60 Minutes and do a story on great white sharks. And there's this guy who free dives and scuba dives with great white sharks without a cage. So he's like the only guy who does this. So I was doing a profile of him. So I went scuba diving with him with the great whites without a cage, and which is kind of insane.
It's not just kind of insane.
Right, but
insane.
it's actually amazing and incredibly exhilarating. It's very surreal when they've been like chumming the water with blood for a good hour, and then you see 6 15 to 20 foot great white sharks circling around the boat, and you're like, all right, time to get in, And I will say, dipping your first finned toe into the water is a little weird. But so I would much rather go and do something like that than just take a boring vacation. I'm really bad on vacations. I usually end up canceling them or coming back after 3 days because I'm bored.
Really?
Yeah. I went to Buenos Aires on vacation, and I literally after 3 days came back because I didn't really know anyone. I didn't really And I was just like, I didn't know what to do, so I came back. But on, the weekend that I'm not working, I honestly, the biggest thing I do is sleep. To me, sleep is like
Catch
the
up.
most precious commodity. So
You live in New York City, right?
I do.
How many
Very close
days?
here. I bought a firehouse very close to here.
Firehouse?
I did, yes.
With firemen in it or without?
No,
firemen?
they've.
I'm guessing they left. But.
Yes, they left. We'll see what happens. But no, it's a 1906 firehouse that was decommissioned back in 2007. It was
Really?
empty, yeah. And I just I'm moving in soon.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
How
Yeah.
many days a year do you spend in New York City? I mean, it sounds like you travel all the time. Like,
I
50?
I really don't travel as much. I think I don't travel as much as I used to, and but I'm usually on the road maybe 1 week a month at the most. So there are times when the earthquake in Haiti happened, I was there for a month, and when Katrina happened, I was there for a month, and I was in Israel when the fighting against Hezbollah happened. But for the most part, my trips are kind of in the 10-day range.
Okay. I want to invite the audience to start thinking of questions and make it to the mic when you can.
Sure.
But before that, I want to go through sort of a rapid round of text questions. The first one came from username Rugal853710.
Oh man, I love her. She's so great.
She's the greatest. Isn't she? Her question is, do you ever Google yourself?
Do I ever Google myself?
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. Yes, of course. I mean, nobody who says they don't Google themselves, everybody Googles themselves from time to time. But I will say I have drastically cut it down over the last couple of years, and rarely ever now do it. And if I do it, I'm like, don't. I have to talk myself down sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't do it. I have like ANDE in there, and I'm like, don't do it. I'm like RSON, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it. So my mom actually, when I was early on. She was pretty well known when I was a kid, and she would always say, never read anything about yourself. And I think it's actually really good advice. It's very difficult advice to do, but if you're able to do it, it's good. Because ultimately, I find that, especially as a reporter, it does me no good to think about myself as somebody who's well known. Like I have this illusion that I'm not well known, and that I work on a TV show, and I don't really think about anybody actually seeing it, and I'm always sort of eternally surprised every day on the street when people are saying hello to me, and I think in my mind, I sort of just think like, okay, people are just saying hi. Like it doesn't really, I know. Yeah, I don't think.
You don't like wear a low baseball cap? And
well, I
all
do
that
wear a
kinda-
baseball cap, yeah. But I just don't think it's healthy to think about yourself as a public person, because it doesn't contribute to anything about what I'm interested in my work.
Yeah. Are you sensitive to stuff that you found online about yourself? If you do actually complete it and push enter?
Really? Look, I do know rationally that I'm on television, so I get that there's going to be a certain level of interest, and and so be it. And I appreciate that people are interested. I'm generally a lot more boring than people might like to imagine, but. It doesn't really bother me. I mean,
that's the
I've been
web.
doing this now for 20 years. I know how I know how the game is played. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
There's very little that bothers me. So.
Well, then you'll be good in daytime TV. You'll have a thick
That's
skin
right,
and
exactly.
Go for it, yeah. Another user in San Jose asks, what's the weirdest, most memorable fan encounter you've had? So when people do recognize you, what's the weird stuff that happens?
Well, there's like the restraining order encounters that I've.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
happens, huh?
Yeah, a fair amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, how many restraining orders are there out right now?
I'm not sure how many are current because they elapse after a year. But it depends on what state you're talking about. But it's interesting. It is interesting to me how people develop a real relationship with you when you're on television, and I really like that. And 99.9% of that relationship is wonderful, and people are incredibly nice. Walking around New York City for me is like, literally, it's like living in a small town. I literally have conversations all day long with. I ride the subway every day, or even if I'm on my bicycle, when I'm stopped at a light, people are talking, saying hello to me, and it's always, very nice, and I love it, and I encourage it. There are really people who become very, very, very interested, and end up showing up at my home with all their possessions to move in with me.
Oh, really? That's happened?
Oh, yeah.
What do you say to them?
Well, the lady in particular who came to live with me, who I think was probably about 55 or so. She had been emailing me for a long time, and then which I had stopped reading the emails, and they were automatically forwarded to the CNN security department, as you might imagine. But I thought someone was reading them, but apparently no one was, because then she showed up at my apartment, and then I went back and I was like, well, maybe I should look at some of the old emails. And she had announced her intentions quite clearly. In fact, she had said, like, I'm arriving on the 8:30 flight, but don't worry about picking me up at the airport, which I thought was very, very thoughtful of her.
How kind.
Yes, how kind.
Really thoughtful.
But so that was probably one of the more interesting ones. But there's been.
And does he walk out your front door and literally?
Thankfully, I was not home at the time.
Oh, okay.
But then she came to work, so she made it
Okay,
easier.
she found you.
Yeah, she found me. Yes.
A question all the way from Qatar, and let's please make it to the mic if you have a question. We'd love to hear your question soon. The question is, best person you've interviewed and why? Any particular interview?
You know, I mentioned that woman Angela. I mean, she was somebody who stays with me, and so it's generally people like that who most people have never heard of or wouldn't really know about it. You know, celebrities. This year I think I interviewed Lady Gaga and Eminem for 60 Minutes, and I found both of them really interesting and enjoyed, getting.
What's
to
Lady
know
Gaga
them.
like in person?
Exactly what you would imagine.
Yeah?
She's really cool. She's 25 years old, which is incredible that she's achieved all this, so much, and she is completely in charge of she's driving that ship. I mean, she is, I think, incredibly talented. I think she's got an amazing voice, and I think she's I
You listen to her?
Yeah, I totally listen to her. I like her a lot, and it was just cool. She's somebody you would want to hang out with. She was fun to hang out with.
Cool. Well, let's take some questions from the audience over here.
Hi.
Hey.
So I love your show.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to say first, when you do your show, I think it's great when other entities move on to other subjects that you continue to stay in Haiti or
thanks.
Japan or what have you, and that's really great. I think one of the things that concerns me most is like how our government doesn't seem to be in sync with the population. I think with debt ceiling and all of that kind of stuff, regardless of what side you're on, we're all going, what's up with Washington?
Right.
And so my first thought was, why isn't the media really separating itself from the dog and pony show and really forcing Washington? But then hearing you talk about Syria and Egypt, it became clear to me we're not as in bad a shape, obviously, but the government here is not getting what the people are wanting. So what can we do with social technologies that Americans aren't using, and what can the media do to help us?
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, if you look at just polling information, I mean, it's not just whether it's Republicans or Democrats. People are just sick of the whole group and kind of lump the whole group together. And whether it's even the president or Congress, it's all sort of a piece. In terms of what social media, I don't know. I think you guys would probably know that better than what I do. I'm still figuring out my little YouTube channel. But I do think social media, I mean, I just think the ability to have conversations and link people from different walks of life together in an online experience and give you direct contact to people in Washington, I think is a unique thing. It used to be you had to write into your congressman or call them up, but you have much more, the ability now to have much more direct links and direct communication with their offices and with them, if they are online. And I think that really does have an impact. I mean, I read my viewers, tweets and email comments and comments on the YouTube channel. I read them every single day, several times a day. It's often the first thing I read waking up in the morning after I read the news headlines, and the last thing I read going to bed to respond to. And it really does have an impact. I mean, I don't think you can underestimate the impact hearing directly from people has. I don't know.
Great. Let's go over here.
Okay, so another question about politics. Something that struck me as really bizarre in the cable news world a couple weeks ago was the way the Ames poll was reported.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, they would say first place goes to so-and-so, third place goes to so-and-so, fourth place goes to so-and-so, not leaving out
Ron Paul.
Leaving out Ron Paul.
Uh-huh.
Like, and it's not even like not reporting on him. It's like almost to the point of pretending he doesn't exist, and it's just weird. Do you have any insight on that?
I mean, I've had Ron Paul on a lot, and he's a great guest, and I've had him on my show a number of times. So I've certainly heard that criticism, and not only Ron, but also Senator Rand Paul on it as well. And I look to book him quite often because I think he's got a really interesting take on things.
Criticize you
No, I
personally.
know.
I'm just wondering.
I don't know.
What
I think certainly a lot of. I don't want to speak for other networks. I don't know how much of a conscious decision that was. I really don't know. I didn't see the other networks' coverage of it and stuff. But I know Ron Paul's been on CNN a fair amount as far as I can tell. But and I don't want to sound like I'm copying on the answer, but I really don't watch a lot of other folks' coverage. I'm sort of focused on my little hour. It doesn't make any sense why they would not. Ron Paul came in second on that and has been not only driving force, in the last election, but also driving force in the Tea Party movement. Is sort of the grandfather of it, if anything.
Basically, you don't know. It's basically.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's no
To sum up.
there's no memo like the going around.
Okay, so, no, it's. All right, that's cool.
Good question. Let's go over here.
Yeah.
The control of information has changed deeply in the last decade with the internet rising, everyone able to transmit information, tweets
Right.
and everything, whatnot. What do you see as the future of news media, who's long held this information or the control of it, as things are changing? So what do you
Right.
see as their future in?
Well, I hope we put a stop to this. No, kidding.
You're here to shut down Google today?
Right, exactly, yes. This is all part of my insidious plot. While you've all been away from your workstations, you've all been locked out and fired. I really don't know, and that's, I think, what is exciting. I think it's scary for some people, but I find it exciting. And I think, how will this sharing of information change things? Will we need broadcast networks? Will we need cable networks, news networks? Will everything be online? Will we need television anchors? That's why I'm getting a day job, frankly, in case that happens. But I do think I think anyone who pretends to know where it's going has no idea. I mean, I've talked to the people who run these companies, and I don't think they have a firm grasp of exactly where it's going. So I think right now, I can tell you CNN is certainly trying to be on as many platforms as possible, on as many delivery systems as possible, to see what comes down the pike and which one explodes, which one goes away. I do think that you're able to get information from more sources than ever before, and I think that's a fantastic thing. There is a danger, I think, in not knowing where the information really is coming from, and sort of being in this echo chamber where something is inserted online, something appears online, and then it's picked up by and it sort of becomes real even though it's not real, and so I do think it matters where the information comes from and whether that information has been checked and vetted. We all know, we've all seen in presidential elections and just in news in general how stories take on a life of their own when you actually start to, it's like, I don't know if you remember the story about President Obama going to India recently, and there was this story going around that his trip was going to cost, I don't know, it was like $200 million a day or something. And it was being repeated on radio stations, and especially conservative radio stations, but on television stations. And it became, I had Michelle Bachmann on my program saying this as fact. And I was like, where does this figure come from? And she was like, well, it's being reported in the media, which, that doesn't mean anything. That's like saying I found it on the street. So, we started checking and going back, and we traced it back to a unnamed Indian provincial government official quoted in a local Indian paper. So the credibility of that is it just doesn't mean anything. Why would a provincial Indian government official, unnamed in a local paper, know how much President Obama's security costs were when the White House doesn't even release that information? And the war in Iraq costs, I don't know, $190 million. So it just didn't make any sense. So we were able to just debunk that, but it had taken on a life of its own. So I do think it's important, even in this age where information is more easily shared and more easily accessible, that even no matter where it goes, that I think there will be some need and for, I don't want to say gatekeepers, but for vetting the information. And how that happens, whether you need the companies that currently exist or whether it's some kind of new structure or just individuals who are responsible. I go to websites that I think I trust, or I think I value the opinion of the person who's running those websites, and I think they have certain standards. And I think everybody has to kind of come up in their own mind with what what they believe and what sources they actually trust.
Yeah. Let's go over here.
I'm one of the folks in the audience who watched you on Channel 1
cool.
in middle school, so it's cool to have you
Where'd you
here.
go to school?
In Western Pennsylvania. So
Okay.
when you said the Midwest, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Because nobody around here seems to know what Channel 1 is.
Right, I know exactly, yeah.
So one of my favorite tweets from the earthquake yesterday, big deal here, came from a sports writer, and I think he said, Wolf Blitzer has the earthquake on the phone. Which was a little bit of a criticism about the 24-hour news cycle and really trying to create stories out of what is there.
Right.
But your side work at 60 Minutes really stands out to me because it's way more about those stories that do have permanence, the stories that stick with you individually. So I'm interested in how you see things change, if you see anything changing at 60 Minutes with your involvement. Some folks who are under the age of 60 getting involved over
Right.
there, and how it's possible that social media or sort of citizen journalism feeds into the stories that have some of that permanence.
Right. I mean, I do think, look, I think 60 Minutes is more relevant, and over the last few years has been more relevant than perhaps ever before. And I think it's a testament to Jeff Fager and Bill Owens and the producers who are there, because I mean, it really, they've been breaking stories. I think it's the best television news magazine show on the air that it has ever been, and certainly is on currently. And so, for me to work there, to walk around and see, Morley Safer and Bob Simon and all these correspondents I have great respect for, and to learn from their producers and be able to learn from them is an extraordinary thing. And I still think I'm getting better at it and need to. I still think I'm learning, and that's what makes it so exciting. But I think it's interesting how 60 Minutes has started to try to incorporate on. I mean, 60 Minutes is, CBS in general is a very established traditional outlet, company, and they're very slow to kind of, a lot of these companies are slow to really adapt and figure out online components and things. 60 Minutes has actually done they've actually have a full-time correspondent now who's excellent, who creates, there's this thing 60 Minutes Overtime, which exists only online, and it's kind of all the interesting stuff that never actually makes it into a 60 Minutes piece. It's sort of the backstory of how the piece was made. And for instance, with Eminem, we showed how just doing a walk, they on like 60 Minutes and a lot of more traditional outlets, they do these walking shots, which are kind of cheesy. It's like the correspondent and the person walking down the street. And just in order to shoot this walking shot with Eminem, it required this huge security undertaking because it was on the home where he grew up, and his whole entourage is there, and there's elaborate security detail, and they had to rope off the block, and so it was all kind of the backstory on a lot of this stuff, and it's actually kind of the more fun moments which don't make it naturally into a 60 Minutes piece, but you get value added if you're interested. So I think for me, it seems like the networks right now, that's the use they see of these, and trying to again build a community and build a sense of connection to a show like that.
Thanks.
Yep.
Hi, Anderson.
Hey.
Thank you for coming to Google. Back in October, I went to this little rally that was down in D.C. And there was not you directly, but your clothing was a feature of the rally. They gave your black T-shirt,
My black T-shirt,
an
yes.
award.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what you thought about sort of the role that you play sort of as a feedback system in the media with fear and with the things that they were commenting on. Do you think that their
Right.
criticism is legitimate?
Yeah, John asked me to go to that, and I would have liked to. I actually couldn't because I was working. But
Talking about the rally to restore fear in
right.
the malls.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Look. First of all, I wear a black T-shirt or a dark T-shirt because the backstory is that there's no real thought to it other than you're not able to shower in a lot of places, and you're working like 100-degree temperatures, so you're sweaty and dirty, and rather than having viewers email me saying, why are you showing us your sweat stains, I wear a dark T-shirt so that nobody sees my sweat stains. But it has certainly taken on a life of its own, and I think it's funny. So I don't think I'm in any way trying to put fear into anybody's heart or into anybody's head. If anything, I think for me, the reason to go down to Haiti and be there after the earthquake is it's not a story that people are necessarily wanting to watch or going to watch. I was just in Somalia for a week. That's not a story, CNN doesn't send me to Somalia because they think people are going to want us to watch it, or that people are even going to watch it, and they're not, because those are things people turn the channels from. But I do believe in bearing witness to what's happening, and I do believe in giving a voice to people who have none. And in Haiti, for generations, people have not had a voice, or they've had their voice silenced or taken away from them. And especially after an earthquake, where the Haitian government is completely unable to even dig people out of the rubble, or unwilling to. I do think there's value in being there and trying to show the rest of the world what is happening to a group of people. So for me, you know, I certainly don't think consciously or even unconsciously I'm trying to in any way make people fearful. I do believe in you know, bearing witness to struggles that other people aren't, and I believed in that from the first time I went to Burma and you know, talked to students. It's not a conflict anyone seems to really care much about, or not a lot of people care much about. But I think it's valuable to be there. I think it's valuable to give people a voice. So.
Thank you so
Great.
much for explaining.
So speaking of fashion, I wanted to know how your beautiful mother was, and if you share her love of fashion and what she thinks of you swimming in these shark-infested waters.
My mom is good. My mom is Gloria Vanderbilt, and she's 87, and she's great. She's in really good health. And I do not share her interest in fashion. I could care less about it. It really doesn't interest me. I hate shopping. I always, for some reason, I still think when I go into a store, people think I'm stealing something. Does anybody else have this? I'm convinced the salespeople think I'm stealing something. And I literally feel like I have to demonstrate to them, like, I'm looking at this shirt now. I don't know why I feel this. I hope to work this out at my daytime show. And she, yeah, you know, she's gotten used to me going off and doing weird things. I mean, you know, I said I left high school early and drove across sub-Saharan Africa in a truck. And, you know, and I had been doing like survival courses as a very young kid before that in the wilderness for months at a time. So she'd sort of gotten used to this idea, and she's really sweet about it, because I lie to her all the time when I'm away. You know, like I was in Egypt, you know, and I was like, you know, I'm just gonna hang out by the pool in the hotel today. And then, you know, half an hour later, I'm getting beat up by thugs, you know. And so...
Does your mom watch YouTube? Because she'll see this.
Right, I know. Yes, I know. No, she knows about it by now, because then I'll have to call her up and be like, all right, so I decided not to hang out by the pool, and I went outside, and these people hit me in the head. And you're going to see it on TV, but it doesn't look as bad. I always say it doesn't look it wasn't as bad as it looks in TV, which is also not true, because it's usually worse. But...
You're digging a hole.
Yeah, but she's, you know, what's remarkable about my mom is that she has never asked me not to do something. I mean, she from the time I was very little, even doing very extreme things, she, you know, was very kind of supportive of it, and if she felt I was really passionate about it, so, yeah.
Let's go over here.
I have a question about how you put your show together, how you decide on what stories to bring, because sometimes it's sort of the more broad political agendas, and then other times it goes much more into being almost sensational news. So how do you make these decisions, or is it just you, or the guidance from CNN?
There's not really any guidance from CNN. I mean, I generally do things which I'm interested in, which I think other people are going to be interested in. You know, and it's a combination, and every day we sit around all day thinking of, you know, what are we going to do today? And, you know, we try to start off the broadcast, if there's not breaking news, with, you know, we have branded it Keeping Them Honest, but it basically is what I think all reporters should be doing, which is basically just, you know, seeing public statements that have been made and then holding people accountable for those statements if they're correct or not, like the Obama trip to India cost thing. So we usually try to lead off the broadcast with a Keeping Them Honest report if we don't have some breaking news. But something like Syria, you know, is something I'm very passionate about and I think is important, and very few people on television news are covering it on a regular, sustained basis. And I think it's important that it get covered. The idea that you have thousands of people who are standing up for their dignity, being shot to death in the streets by their own government, I think is abhorrent and deserves coverage. You know, certainly there's stories that I may not be personally all that interested in, or that I don't think are all that important in a geopolitical sense, but that people are just genuinely interested. And look at the Casey Anthony trial. That's a story that people were fascinated with. And for all the people who say they weren't interested in it, half of those people were still watching it. And you know, you're in a news business, and my job is not to tell people to eat their broccoli every single night. Sometimes if someone's interested in a story and there's a high viewer interest in it, I'll do that story if we think we can do it in an intelligent way. So we try not to be sensationalistic about stuff. I would, I don't know if there's something specific that you're referencing, but certainly, everybody's responsible just for their own little program, and I have no responsibility. I can't take credit or responsibility for what else is on cable news. But on my program, we try very hard not to focus on stuff that's sensational. And what we found, frankly, over the years is that for a CNN viewer, they're really not interested in sensational stories. I mean, if somebody's really, really interested in crime stories, they can go to Nancy Grace on HLN, and she, covers what she covers. Or they could go to some of the other shows on HLN or elsewhere. Or if they're interested in celebrity interviews, they can go to Piers Morgan. People don't really come to me for that on CNN. They come now because of the accountability things and also a lot of foreign coverage. So I'm happy that I have that niche and that viewers are actually coming for that, and so that's what I'm able to do.
We have time for probably one more question over here.
Yep.
Again, on the topic of where you think things might be going or how you'd like them to go, but particularly in the developing world where sometimes you're covering the stories, do you think that what we see with Twitter and YouTube and these kind of things is making the kind of impact it could in the affected populations in these areas? Are they getting the benefit of this increased coverage, or is it more just people watching?
I think it's hard to generalize. I mean, I think it depends on each situation. But I think certainly some places in Haiti, yeah. I mean, in Haiti, for instance, in the wake of the earthquake, there was this. There were a lot of folks online who were obviously very concerned and wanted to be involved, and were trying to help spread information, like this person is trapped in this building. And I would get these tweets, I would get these emails, I mean, thousands of them every single day while I was down in Haiti for that month. And a lot of the most 99% of them are very well intentioned. A lot of them are just this echo chamber of somebody else has put this email out there, and it's been picked up by 10 other concerned people, and then it's been forwarded and it's taken on its life of its own, and it grows in hysteria to the point where you get an email from a very serious sounding person who's saying, there are kids who are crushed and starving in this orphanage, and they're at 28, and they give the address, and you drive for half a day to get there, only to learn that actually the kids are fine here. I mean, it's not a great situation, but they have enough food for 2 or 3 weeks, and it's not what it was made into. And we've had a number of those situations where we've actually responded to things which came to us, with the best of intentions. So it can be an issue. It can also be, somebody trapped underneath a house can send out an email, and their loved one can see it, and relief can come, help can come, and that has happened as well. So, it's a case-by-case basis, but I do think overall, I mean, it's an incredible positive that I think any way you can engage people, any way you can get people to focus on, look, everyone's so busy, and they don't have time necessarily to even sit and watch a news clip, but to read a headline online that maybe spurs them to do something. Or, there's just extraordinary things being done by Google and on Google and by YouTube, helping people coordinate and helping people organize. And I know people from Google who went down to Haiti and, with sort of, I don't even know what they were doing, but something on the computer to help, I'm a total Luddite, but I'm there with my quill pen and, and I see them with laptops, but to help, data storage and to help organize, what stuff is coming in and what's going out. That's incredible. And it really is revolutionizing the way aid is delivered, and it can really revolutionize things. And I think it's incredibly exciting to see, because it really does have an impact on the ground. Just one quick example. I was in Haiti when 8 days after the quake, a woman, an elderly woman, I think she was in her 70s, was found alive, trapped by a building near the cathedral. She'd been trapped under the wreckage for 8 days, and it was incredible that she was still alive. And she gets pulled out by some South African and Mexican search and rescue people. But they were so excited and elated that they had pulled her out. No one had thought of the next step of, well, okay, what do we do with her now? And there were no real, her pelvis was crushed, I think, or she had something, part of her leg was crushed, and she, needed life support, and she needed a surgery immediately, and there was no place to take her, and they had no knowledge of where there was a doctor who could actually perform the kind of surgery she needed, and we ended up, my team of 2 other people, ended up in this weird position where we found ourselves with her in the back of our truck on a stretcher, trying to mobilize people online and mobilize resources over the phone that we could bring her to. And we ended up, getting her on board a U.S. Coast Guard helicopter that landed on the presidential palace that had been destroyed. And my producer is on the front lawn waving the chopper in with his BlackBerry light. And I mean, that shouldn't happen. And so the ability to connect people who are on the ground, because when you're on the ground, you have no way of really sharing information. And I think that's the next step, the ability for, in real time, people who are on the ground to connect information and connect resources. That would be an extraordinary step. So.
Well, Anderson, thanks for coming
Cool.
today.
Thank you.
Before we let you go, we want to give you an essential pair of YouTube tube socks.
That's fine. That's great.
I'm sure you'll wear them the next time you're on the air.
I'll wear them with my black T-shirt. Thank you.
Your talk show starts September 12th,
Yep.
Monday. If people here wanted to go watch it, how could they get tickets?
You go to andersoncooper.com. They're free. Yeah, and it's actually a fun experience, so you should.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Again.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.